Welcome to the Pro Cheerleading Podcast, hosted by Mhkeeba
and Brittany, two former NFL cheerleaders discussing hot topics in the pro cheerleading industry
and revealing the truth behind the poms.
All right, everybody, this is the episode you've been waiting for. I Want to Be Your Lover. Prince is amazing. Didn't he just have a birthday?
Oh, I don't know that.
Okay. Well, he did, because he's a Gemini. I knew that part.
Okay.
But anyway, I want to be your lover because we're talking about love and relationships or being single while you are a pro cheerleader. And we have a special surprise. What's our surprise?
We have a very special guest who is our absolute favorite. We can't stop talking about her.
I know. She's like an official friend of the show, like on The Housewives, but way cooler because I don't feel like the friends of the show on The Housewives don't really, like they're really not cool enough to be a real house. Anyway, the point is she's our friend of the show, our BFF of the show. Might as well name it that. Yeah, we should change it. BFF of the show. Lindsay Rosenberg!
Yay!
I'll totally be a housewife friend though.
Well, I can't be a housewife because I'm not married, but this show.
I don't think that's a requirement anymore.
It's not. Yeah.
That's true. Like basketball wives, nobody's a wife. Isn't that a thing right now?
It's a thing.
But we brought Lindsay back because we were obsessed, and she has such interesting thoughts. Like I love how she says it. I have thoughts, but we thought this would be fun just to have some wine, not as fancy as Lindsay's wine, but
they're lying. Super fancy.
Super fancy cup at least, but we're drinking out of a plastic wine bottle. But we're just going to talk, freestyle it about how difficult it is to manage a love life while you are under the extreme demands and crazy schedule of being a pro dancer.
And side note, Lindsay made a short film that won awards. We posted it on our last episode, Quick Flash, and it was amazing. And so I just feel like you're an expert in relationships because of that short film.
Right. So we have our resident expert in the building.
Yes, I am absolutely no expert, but I do love talking about this stuff. And I'm very judgy and analytical. So
Perfect. We're in great company. So we should level set with all of our background in the dating department while we were dancing. Me personally, I was single as fuck. So that's my background. I tried dating, but unsuccessfully.
Okay. Lindsay, you're next.
while I was on Clippers, I had a boyfriend, but it was long distance.
He lived where?
In New York, and I was in LA.
Oh, ooh, that's long distance.
A very long distance.
And we didn't have all this extra FaceTime-y situation going on back then necessarily. Were you writing love letters or emails?
Emails.
Okay.
Yeah, we were super high tech.
That's cool. Love letters are romantic. And you, my dear Brittany?
I've been with the same guy since the beginning.
So this goes back to our rookie year, right?
Yeah. 2011. We started dating, and that was the same year that I made Seagulls, finally.
And she got married to him a year ago.
Yeah.
What's your anniversary date?
July 8th.
Cute, it's coming up.
I know, it is.
Did you save a piece of cake, or what are you supposed to do?
No. I might have to try to make pie or something. Great, I'm going to have to bake. But first, a little cheer chat. So this is really exciting.
It is. So, we've been in the land of despair for Brittany's chugging wine over here. We've been, going through our shit. I feel like people have been trying to move on in a positive direction from all of these NBA teams deciding to go a different direction with their dance teams. But we just wanted to provide an update to you all that there is a national publication, which is what we were really hoping for, some national exposure to the issues that has taken an interest in an article written about what we're going through, why it's such a big deal, and hopefully we'll start the right narrative where we can kind of change and shift where the shit is going. And so we've been working pretty closely with her, just trying to make sure that, she had the information and really think she's getting a very full picture. And thankfully, some of you have reached back out to her. We just kind of wanted to make a push for this being our time to speak up. And it doesn't even have to be whiny, bitchy, complainy. We all know, if you leave a job, you're not supposed to go talk shit about your prior employer. But maybe what we can be saying is, we love what we do. Don't take it away from us. I've worked my whole life for this. I love being out there dancing. I have less opportunities to do that now. This is how I've been impacted. But the more that we can speak up and try to like shape that narrative and that conversation, we might, I don't know.
Well, we need some help because we didn't want to speak for everybody who's experiencing these things on their end. So now's your opportunity to reach out to us if you would like to be put in contact with her.
Exactly.
Because we were kind of limited. We could only speak to and only wanted to speak to our truth and what we experienced. But we just didn't feel comfortable speaking on something that we didn't experience.
Exactly. Thank you to everybody who had the courage to speak up. We get that this is not easy to do. I just think we're in such a key time for our profession that it doesn't have to be, again, so negatively painted to say how this makes you feel, how you've been impacted. It's really just a chance to speak up, to say, this matters to me, this is important, this is really my dream. Because if more teams do this, then I think we're looking at, well, hell, what are we going to have a podcast about if we don't have any teams to cover that are, well, whatever, we'll cover them anyway. But the point is, we just encourage everybody to find that, you know, as a woman, you have a mind, an opinion, feelings. This is your dream. This is your passion. So don't be scared. Yeah, speak up. And we have your back always. Whether you decide to say anything or not, we are so happy to have some vehicle to address and say things that, you know, it's not easy for everybody to say. We get it. We love you. We've been trying to ride for you hella hard. It didn't happen to us, even though I feel like it did. But last push, please reach out like ASAP. Like if you have something that you want to say, ASAP, because the article will be coming out soon and we'll keep you posted, obviously. Shit, am I already slurring? Moving on. So PRO happened this weekend. I was at a bachelorette party in Arizona, but could not help but look at the stories on Instagram from PRO. It's in Atlanta. We went one year. I almost died because I can't hang. But it's such a fun-ass event, and it holds the huge dance convention for those who don't know. All the top choreographers from NFL, NBA, Lord knows where else come, and they teach routines, hella routines over a 2-day period, right?
Yeah.
And you get to be around all kinds of women from different teams, NBA, NFL. It's like hella more college teams that are there now. And I know they interviewed somebody. She was in college when she went for her first time by herself. And then she ended up making it on the Falcons cheerleading team. And so it's such a cool opportunity. I want to see more clips of their cute ass routines. Like the Derek guy from the Wizards is like insane. And I saw he brought the business again. But there's another one on the West Coast, right, that you were telling us about, Pro Action Dance, right?
Yes, it's Pro Action Dance, and it's in Vegas. I believe it's like July. There's a all pro night, which is July 23rd or something. And then the rest of it's open for colleges. Right. It's incredible. It's very similar, just done in more of a West Coast way, I would say. I think teams will be like, you guys are going to all pro, you guys are going to Pro Action. And that's how they make the most of it instead of sending them to both. Because I did see like the Hawks and the Falcons come to Pro Action as well. Pretty much Pro Action is run by everybody that I grew up being mentored by. Mina and Marina Ortega. Mina is the director of USC's dance force, and Marina is Boston Celtics. They're twin sisters. They are incredible. They've choreographed for every single team ever. That's how I met them on Clippers. They taught us a routine with a cane to every woman. It was pretty incredible. It was really fast. Definitely got hit in the head by some canes. But yeah, they are awesome. They started this not too long ago, but legends, Andy Vaca, John Peters, Shandon Perez.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's incredible. She had a baby she was pregnant at the last Pro Action. So I think she's not choreographing this year, but teaching a master class. She's incredible. Everybody loves her. We have Oscar Hernandez, who love. I wish he was around in my day. Who else? We have just a beautiful variety of humans. I know that like Nappy Tabs would come in every once in a while and do a master class, or we've had people from the Jabberwockies come in, and it's just such a wonderful event. And it's very similar to how All Pro is, but I mean, I am in more favor of Pro Action, and not to put anything else down except for like, that's my family and they're your people. But it is one of those weekends that is extremely magnificent. so many pro teams come, so many college teams come. And I'm guessing it's kind of the same. They do a separate directors meeting, but they have directors sit down, and anybody that's in college that wants to try out for a team can come to this bit of a conference and ask a bunch of questions to the directors.
That's powerful.
Yeah. It is. It's super fun. You get the best of their advice, and also the directors use it as a scouting mechanism. So they know exactly who's going to be trying out for their team the following year. And I've watched a lot of college girls go from Iowa's dance team to Gold Rush. And it's like taking a workshop before an audition. It's really the most that you can do is treat yourself with that. It's just a big celebration of ladies. And we do have men too. But a lot of the teams that I saw at All Pro also come to Pro Action. So that's really cool. Like I know I saw that Tara from Bucks was teaching, I think, at All Pro.
Yeah.
And she sent some girls to Pro Action. And who else? Atlanta, I've already said.
I think the Redskins have gone to both too.
Yes. Because that's how I know Candice is from Pro Action and then Pro Bowl. So many pros.
Somebody wrote in and asked for advice about being a college dancer, and it just came to mind, like, you should go to one of those. Totally just go, and you'll get a real good dose of what our world is like and learn from the best. And it just seems like such a cool bonding experience. Like I was really a little bit like, damn, it would have been cool to go and see it all kind of come together, people getting to know one another and doing these amazing routines.
Did you guys go to these kinds of conventions when you were on the team?
Yeah, we went to PRO. It was a little intense. It was a little over my head, but I had to take Derek's classes. That was assigned to me. And so I had to take all of his. And it's just like, you learn it and then you have to perform it. I know you know that, but it's just like crazy fast.
And you always run out of time to teach. So the last 8 counts are like, do this, and
got it? Okay, perform for everyone.
And then they would kill it and smash it. And I'm like, I need like a day to sleep on this whole situation that just happened. I'm glad I went to at least know what it's like. I would encourage anybody to totally get out of your comfort zone and scare the shit out of yourself and go.
If that is the thing that you can do.
And I think Pro Action sounds cooler because if you were going to audition for a team, but maybe vibed really well with a different director, maybe you could change your plans, you know, but meeting them is really important.
Being able to ask questions directly and maybe not get the canned response that you tend to get at workshops, probably a little bit more open on both sides to give a little bit more insider scoop.
And not sure about the other convention, but with Pro Action, you do have a lot of people in that room who are judges for these things too. So your choreographers are also probably judging different teams. And so just always know that whomever you are dealing with, they're attached to your team in some way, which I mean is the beautiful part about what we do is that we're all connected in some way. But in these, for instances, it could definitely help you. If you're an amazing dancer and you really want to just be able to talk to people, even talking to girls who are on the team currently, it's helpful. It's an investment, but it's worth it.
Cool. I think so too. So it's, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. If you missed out on PRO and you want to try one coming up in a few weeks in July, I'd say it's worth it. You can get a flight.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right, back to the main topic.
So we did ask, right, on Instagram, what people wanted to cover. There was a big consensus. How the hell do you manage to have a relationship when you're just going through the crazy that we go through? And people wanted to say, like, what happens if you have somebody that you're dating that's not really supportive? So we're covering that shit too. And then Brittany is like a great example when you have all of that wonderful shit going on in your relationship. I mean, okay, you guys, the way that Anthony looks at her, I went to a game the year I was off. Anthony was nice enough to share one of the season tickets. And I've seen this look before, like at calendar unveilings, anything. And he just has this, I'm so in love with her, like she's a rock star, like totally zoned out. It's so beautiful to watch. So he's a good example. I'm your number one fan. Okay, moving on.
I want to get back to Brittany because it's a really good point that when the right people are in your life, things move in the right direction. And it's a big distraction when you have the wrong people in your life. So we'll talk about that.
We sure
definitely.
Will. Well, shit, should we talk about it now?
Let's just talk about it
now. Why am I so like,
Because you have rosé in your hands and you just came off of a bachelorette party weekend.
Oh, God. Yeah. Maybe that's it.
Oh, yeah. You're like on your party train right now.
I am. Keep it going. This feels very like picking it up where I left off. Okay.
I start?
Well, just like the years of auditioning, because we know we both auditioned several times, but you were saying that, you know, you were dating guys that weren't really.
Yeah, I was actually, one year I was dating a guy who, during the audition process, reached out and tried to date a veteran cheerleader.
I remember that.
And she came up to me at auditions and was like, "Oh, do you know so-and-so?" And I was like, "I don't," and broke up with him like immediately because
who the fuck does that?
Yeah, he was a creep.
Wow.
So obviously I didn't make it that year as well. So that was extra burn on that end. But yeah, and then I met Anthony, and that year that we met and started getting serious, I auditioned again, and totally what Lindsay was saying, like, I just felt not like he deserved it, but he kind of did. You know what I mean? He was truly supportive. And over the years, I've noticed Anthony, he plays semi-pro volleyball, and if he's not playing consistently, he gets sad. And so he was like, I knew that since I need that kind of outlet in my life, and dancing was your outlet, like, I was so happy to support you and knew that it was fulfilling your dream.
You're about to make me fucking cry. That's not the point of this episode. No, are you serious? That's
I was asking him just the other night, because I was like, we're doing this relationship episode. What did you really think? Did you hate that I was gone all the time? Did you hate that I was in calendars and like wearing a bikini and all this stuff? And he was like, honestly, I never got jealous because you're my girl.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're mine and I support you, and I know that you're very loyal. And so that's why I was like, what am I going to say in this episode?
You're going to be like, that's not how it's done. Actually, my man.
It's actually very important that you have this perspective. And I think too, what you're not giving yourself credit for here is sometimes when you can take the shit out of all the hardship that you put on yourself during auditions, it's not necessarily like he deserved it. There was not one part of you that had to worry about anything but yourself.
Bingo.
Boom.
To me, that is a wonderful partner, someone who supports you completely. We grow up with our parents being like, great, dance, do what you want, do what you love, keep on going, I'm here no matter what. And then that kind of gets a little shifted when you're an adult, because a lot of negative energy comes in and you feel like you're the only one fighting for yourself. But then when somebody comes in that's like, you got this, I'm not worried, you can really focus on yourself and take everything out of it. And that sounds like what you did that first audition where your dude was trying to date somebody else at the same time. That's horrific. And that's going to cloud your mind with a bunch of BS that doesn't need to be in your brain.
Exactly. Especially audition time.
And like in your own space, you're comparing yourself now to not only the competition for the team, but like
for your man.
Times a billion.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Cut out what I said and insert what Lindsay just said. Thanks.
I'm red right now.
Really?
Keep drinking.
Yeah.
Good.
I love this story. I think
it's
so wonderful, and I love that you married him.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. I think he's a great guy.
I think
he doesn't have Instagram, so you guys can't hit him up in the DMs either. So sorry.
See how cute you are together.
You're so right, though. Like, during auditions, it's totally a time to be completely selfish and focus on yourself. And you have your own self-doubt that's creeping in as you're preparing. And yeah, I mean, it makes me think back. I wasn't planning on talking about this shit, but let's do it. Let me drink some more. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, for me, because I was older and because I had kids, and technically because I was living with my kid's father while we were actually broken up, we had a big enough house that made it tolerable, barely. No, I'm just kidding. We get along, but it was actually really uncomfortable because I think he was trying to ask, like, how long are you going to keep trying? You know, my kids were young the years that I was auditioning before I made it. And so I didn't have it all figured out as to how it was going to go down, but I knew I was going for it. And it's not that he wasn't supportive, but he became more supportive. Like, I see the big fat ass difference, like, later on. I felt like when I was auditioning, maybe it was just the concern maybe for me, or, you know, the concern about how that would impact our little arrangement, but it wasn't exactly like I had 100% backing, you know, and it was a little painful because I had to block all that out. And the years that I didn't make it, it didn't help my case to be like, I'm still going to fucking do it. Yeah. Like, every time that time of year would roll around, I had that pit in my stomach to like mention it. Yeah, it's going down again. I'm going to do it. But I had to kind of push through an extra layer of shit, you know what I mean? To put myself through the potential rejection from not making it, you know, the exposure when my kids started to understand why mommy's dancing all over the damn living room. I'm glad I stuck through it. And obviously to be able to do 5 years in the NFL and just all of this kind of coming more naturally and makes sense. I think he gets it now, but he didn't get it like right away. He just flat out didn't get it right away. Like,
did something change that year that you did make it in terms of your relationship? That, you know, kind of like what Lindsay said, released you to kind of concentrate on making the team?
I think it was like a fuck it all attitude. Like,
I've had it.
Fuck what everybody thinks. Like, fuck it. Like, I had gotten to a point where it was, I gave myself permission to like follow my dream. So I didn't give a shit how anybody else reacted to it. It was like, this is what Mhkeeba Pate wants, and this is what Mhkeeba Pate gets. And I mean, even to the, you know, not to the judges, like, fuck you, fuck it. But it was like, I'm literally going to do everything that I can. I feel like I'm worthy. I'm going to go for it. And at that point, like, if you say no one more time, then I'm going to be at peace with it. I think it was just kind of like a fuck all the fears, go for it. If it doesn't work out, it is absolutely their loss. And when I get in that zone, I know that it's like mine for the taking. I mean, it could have not happened and I was willing to walk away, but it wasn't, you know, he became supportive all of a sudden. It was just kind of like, I wasn't even looking for it.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yeah. You got to a point where
I signed my own permission slip. Yeah.
Yeah. My story is a little bit different with my ex at the time. He was very supportive in the beginning with all of my dance stuff, and he remained supportive, but the more stuff I got, the more like, he kind of felt. And I actually never told anybody when I was auditioning. Nobody, like zero. But also that does kind of stem from growing up auditioning for random stuff. My mom was always like, it's a kanahara, which is Yiddish for jinx. It's a kanahara. So you don't tell anybody until that comes out on your TV. Like, you don't know if it's going to get cut. You don't tell people that you are auditioning for stuff. You probably won't get it. Don't tell people when you get a callback. Don't tell anybody when you get it, because your part could be cut. So that was always, I learned that as a kid. So that was in my head a little bit, but I was very, I didn't tell my parents I was auditioning. I didn't tell my boyfriend at the time I was auditioning, just because I felt like and I'm a weird bird like this, but I can handle rejection when it's just my rejection, not when it's shared with the world. So that's something that I give a lot of props to people who audition now, who are like documenting it. It seems like so scary because you also then have to be like, I'm cool with not getting it. And that's huge. Mm-hmm. But I always kind of wonder like what the support team is behind that. So I didn't say anything to my dude.
Was it like, surprise, bitch? No, I'm just kidding. How did you break the news that you made it though? Is it like, guess what? This is what I've been preparing for the past few months. And
I kind of don't remember how I told him, but he was stoked because he loved sports. But, you know, everybody back then was a Lakers fan. So it was like, cute. Are you going to do Lakers next? Never good enough. So, but I was like, no, but I now have season tickets to the Clippers. So you in? What do you want?
And let's be real. All guys love that perk of being able to go to games.
100%.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That has to be like some cloud of some sort.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like your guys brag about it?
I never caught on to that. I know that he was proud, but I kind of am like Lindsay, where especially after years of not making it, I definitely was like, I'm not going to even tell anybody. You know, sometimes I had to tell my parents because they knew it was time. And so it would get out, but I almost didn't even want them to acknowledge it. Like I would ask, you know, yes, I'm doing it, but like, don't ask me about it.
Yeah.
I'll either tell you a good thing or nothing at all, you know? So I think he definitely respected that too. But he was never one like, my girl's a da-da-da. He never did that stuff.
That would be kind of douchey, I guess.
It was more of a matter of fact. Like, oh yeah, she, you know, works for the Seahawks or she's a cheerleader. Okay. You know, it was just kind of like, it is what it is kind of thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I got to throw in the single mix in a little bit, because in terms of identifying yourself as a pro cheerleader, I know that I was like hell to the no on dating apps, because that's a huge part of your availability. And especially if you're trying to like line up that first date and it's like, I can't do Tuesdays, Thursdays. I have game on Sunday. I need to practice on Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that was my profile picture on freaking OkCupid or something. I tried and would delete my shit like within 48 hours because it's just not my thing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people I think struggle with how to share that information without it becoming like, oh, so you do the splits, or, you know, or, oh, I get to have season tickets to the games, or, oh, you must be fucking the players, or, you know what I mean? Like, just a lot of assumptions that probably go into it, and not having that be like the focal point of conversation. You can tell when that shit's happening.
Absolutely.
She's like, that's it.
Drink some more wine, Lindsay.
I always wondered that though, because even like in college or whatever, I never just like, I'm a cheerleader. I always try to keep it really quiet. Mm-hmm. So I think if I was dating, I really wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And you don't need to know why I'm busy all these times. Like, I'll see you when I see you kind of thing.
But when you're trying to like date that person and potentially make them your man, I mean, I'm the same way about even having kids. It's not like I'm hiding my children, but it's like, I don't even know if you want to, like, if you deserve to be brought into my world yet. But if I'm thinking that you might kind of be brought into my world, it gets annoying because it's so prevalent what we do and how limited our time is, that I just let it be known, because it would always be something cheer related that would make me try to commit to something because I really wanted to make myself available. But then it's like, fuck, I need to practice, or like, you know, you just end up getting caught up, and then I'm putting it off, and then they're wondering if I'm not interested. They have a fucking attitude because I didn't call them back, or I didn't text them back right away, and I've been in practice for 5 hours. You know what I mean? Like, not saying it became more of a production than just saying, this is what I do and why I haven't been available.
Right, because then you're just a giant liar.
That too.
Did you ever notice a shift in like the way people treated you once they found out? I mean, both gorgeous women.
I mean,
and so they were probably already interested, but like, did they get a tent in their pants instantly or something?
I don't know if it was a tent in their pants, but tent's about tickets. And it's like, bitch, why am I calling everybody bitch? I'm sorry. It was more like,
please, because I'm sure half these dudes are douchebags. So
yeah. But it's like, what makes you think that you're even on the list of the recipients? Once it went that direction, it's like, oh, so you get tickets to every game? I don't even know how that shit would even go down that path, but it was like, clearly they're
fishing.
Yeah. And it's like, I just met you and you don't deserve to go to the games. I'm sorry. Like, I have family that doesn't even make the list. So it's like, you're definitely not getting it.
Let's talk about the other side of the coin. When you like somebody and then all of a sudden you're like, well, here's where I'll win them over. Because that's definitely a thing too, where you're like, I can use this to my advantage and kind of wow them with what I do, because all of a sudden you know that they're a Seahawks fan or whatever.
But then I'd be kind of freaked out. Like, if I really liked him, and well, sort of, I'd be freaked out. But you know what I mean? Like, having somebody come to something where you're going to like perform and try not to ever F up because now somebody's watching you. I think it cuts both ways. I would probably be a little shy. If I really like the dude, then that means I'm shy. If I don't really give a shit, then I'm definitely just bold and don't give a shit. But I probably would have been all sheepish about somebody I really liked coming to the game and knowing that they were in the stands like that.
I would totally use it if I really liked him, and I would be like,
100%.
Yeah, I would drop that. Well, yeah, so I, have practice. And about that.
Practice
what?
I
totally would. Heck yeah.
Yeah, because deep down inside, it's every boy's like 11-year-old fantasy. You know what I mean? It's like your son excluded because this is his mom.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's different when your mom was that person. But I just remember this like little boy light up in people's faces when you told them what you did. And to go back to like traditions with these girls, these were like the posters that like hung in garages or like, autographed things that these kids who are now adults had as like, they're like that one, And even I remember sitting on the court, because back in my day, I'll probably say back in my day like a billion times, but we sat on the court for all of fourth quarter, and we sat in front of the season ticket holders, and the same boys over and over again of the dads would take their sons, and they started off young, and then they were getting a little bit older, and you can see like
they're looking at your ass now.
Yes, it's a total progression. And so, yeah, you are in a place where you're like, yep,
I watched you grow up, and now
I know. And I know now what you're thinking of me. And so these little boys meet this girl as an adult that they can now date, and it's like a little spark in their eyes. You know,
it's in their pants.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
It's like, yeah.
By eyes, I mean pants. And absolutely, there's like just a little bit of a stigma that goes with that, and it's something that you like experience with your dad when you were younger. Like, it's so silly, but you know, on the trend of traditions and to keep these things alive, this is part of the game day experience. And when you go to a game with your dad, these are parts of the things that you're loving about the environment. It's like taking out all of the hot dogs out of a stadium. People would be like, wait, I love that as a kid. That's what I did with my dad. And now you're replacing hot dogs with quesadillas? I get it. I like it all. But like, hot dogs, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my
hot dog.
Stick it in.
We can fit in rants anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
Seriously.
My ex, the year that I first made the team, I think he was teaching 9th graders. The first year he was teaching, I was on Clippers, and then he ended up going to Columbia, which took him to New York. But his high school kids found out what I did, and pretty much everybody left for class, but all the boys stayed to like have a discussion with them, like, which one is she?
Oh my God.
And even though they were like very young kids, he still felt really cool. When you tell somebody what you do in a non-dating setting, you always will get that one guy that's like, oh, my cousin's girlfriend's brother's sister's dog's friend's walker was on that night in 1998.
Exactly.
Like, there is a little bit of a sexy stigma that comes with it that's super fun. And even though your now husband may not be bragging about it, I guarantee somebody bragged on behalf of him. They have met you once.
Right.
And they called you.
My buddy's girl is a seagull.
Yeah.
Exactly. Totally.
Totally.
Yeah. And then they're like, Bethany? Wait, maybe that's not her name.
It doesn't matter.
She's the redhead.
Yeah. True. We did get that a lot. That was like the number one thing that people said to us at appearances was like, oh yeah, do you know Christy? She was on the team in 80. And you're like, no, I don't know her. I'm sorry.
Like,
we don't all live together in a house from the beginning of time.
So that would be fun.
Yeah, it would actually. That's a good reality show idea.
Oh my gosh.
Rookies and vets, you could call it. Anyways.
Okay.
You get called.
Reach out to us.
Hard to name the show.
But along those lines, it's like, if you have your identity wrapped up in the fact that you are doing this, you can kind of become a little one-dimensional, and it might impact the getting to know each other dating process, because people called it seagull mode for me. Like, when I was in seagull mode, I wasn't very available. It consumed so much of my life that I think if somebody were to meet me then, well, number one, I would have been like, I don't have time for you, which is true. I mean, I get that. But like, also, it would seem like I talked about it all the fucking time, which was not my intent. And it wasn't like that's all I did or all I had to me, but it just felt like it was that heavy in my life that basically you're a fucking seagull too, whoever I'm dating, because that's what I'm going to talk about. You know, what happened in practice. You know, that's part of your dialogue, like your day-to-day. How was your day? It's like, oh, I practiced until like 11 o'clock at night and this one girl didn't do, you know, whatever. It's like literally part of what you talk about.
We call them Squad 5.
Yeah, our guys, Squad 5.
Oh, that's cute.
Just like literally the guys, the significant others, or, you know, whoever people would be dating, any event that they were invited to, it's like you have to take pictures.
30 girls.
Squad 5 duties. Yeah.
Like 30 girls being like, babe, get the picture. Can you get a picture?
Camera.
Can you get a camera? And it's like, it's all going to look the same, maybe from slightly different angles. Like, chill out. That drove me nuts. I never made my guy like,
do that.
Get the camera. Hey, like, it'll be fine.
You make them come to these events, and it's like, no, you have to come, and you have to look nice, and you have to do this. But then we ignore them the whole time because we're yippity-yapping with our friends. So the Squad 5 just gathers together. That's probably how Squad came into it, because we kind of leave them hanging, and they don't have anybody to talk to except each other. So it's really awkward, and then they become fast friends maybe because they're seeing each other at different events. But to be a Squad 5 guy, you have to be supportive. You have to go to shit that you probably would rather not.
You got to schmooze with the director and her husband and children.
That's so true. Awkward conversations. What else do we make them do? I don't
What
know.
about when new Squad 5 members came around? Did the vets of the original Squad 5 judge harshly? Like, this guy, I don't know about this guy.
I think so.
I feel like my guy did.
Really?
Yeah, he'd be like, he's not gonna last. And I'm like, what? And then like, yep, sure as shit. A month later, they're broken up or something.
Really?
I'm like, how did you know that? And he's like, he wasn't into it. It's too much for him. Couldn't hang. I'm like, oh, okay.
I could see that. I mean, I kind of judge Squad 5. It's kind of like you can see the dynamic, and if they really feel super uncomfortable with, it's overwhelming. Shit, all of a sudden you're around 30 women that are like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like your first event as a Squad 5 dude would be.
It's probably the most like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be like to be on Squad 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Some screaming girls and some guys that I need to throw out with.
I mean, not in our 5 or 6 years, but thinking back too, like we never had any issues with girls stealing other girls as guys or anything, as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So that's kind of good.
What about
Well, yes.
wait, what was
Yeah.
that?
What?
Oh God. One time I did bring a date to a holiday party, and let's just say there was somebody who I already prepped the Squad 5er. He wasn't really Squad 5, the candidate for Squad 5, if you want to say that. I told him the whole spiel on the way up. This is what's going down. You're going to hear a lot of, you know, like you're going to take some pictures. I won't put you through too much of this. I was just like, just know that this is what's happening. It's a holiday party. Just run with it. Have a drink. Have a few drinks. I was driving. So anyway, I left him alone to do some like seagull mingling. And I was informed that somebody definitely kept him company.
Okay.
But he was weirded out. It wasn't like he was into it and then left.
No, he was just
her.
like, I met so-and-so, and it was one of those kind of situations. I wasn't concerned, but it was like, he felt definitely preyed upon.
Yeah.
In that moment. He was cute.
Squad 5 duty includes buying all the auction items that are auctioned. My guy bought so much stuff.
Did he feel obligated to?
But he loved it.
Okay.
He was like, this is a great deal because nobody really showed up. You know?
And they want signed paraphernalia.
Yeah.
That's so true. What else do they have to do? Put up with all our shit. Rubber shit from the damn turf in the bed, probably.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah,
Firsthand on his boxers. I don't know. What happened?
Driving home to grab uniform items you forgot and booking it to the stadium early.
that sounds like really good humans.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all this flip the
Yeah.
script, and it would just be you guys going to boyfriends' events, or like, I don't know what boyfriends do. Occupy clients or going to their holiday parties. It's the same BS.
True.
Just more fun for them to tell their friends that, oh, I have to go to this seagulls thing.
Maybe they thought it was cool.
Yeah, maybe. Did you guys have get-togethers like that?
We had 0 auctions. Feel like the only time we would get together would be post-game.
Okay.
Oh, got it.
We would go get a drink somewhere after the game. And if you invited anybody to the game, like, you'd usually invite them out. Again, I had a long-distance relationship. And I think I was single my last year. So let's say it was in person, long distance, maybe off and on by my last year. And we would go get drinks, and the guys would have to like mingle and stuff. And the only time they didn't like anybody else, you know, you usually have the same crew of dudes. It was just when one of the solid dudes and the girl would break up, and then a new dude would come in, and they're like, nah,
We don't like them.
we're not taking it.
Yeah.
Breakups while you're on the squad have to be hard.
I also had one really good friend who is still my best friend through my ex. He is my best friend now, and he married another one of my best friends. So I get to keep him in my life, although my ex is not really in my life at all. But he was single at the time, and he is such a good guy. So anytime I had a single girl, I was like, go for Creed. And Creed is so charming and handsome and lovely. And so I'll infiltrate him somewhere in here. Everybody will make out with Creed at one point.
Ooh.
That's true. I did get that a lot. Single guy friends would be like, so can you hook me up with one of the cheerleaders?
Oh,
And you'd be
yeah.
like, okay, actually, no. Like, most of them are in a relationship, married, seriously dating. I never had that opportunity, you know?
To
And
hook
there's
somebody
plenty
up.
of guys that I think would have been great boyfriends, but I
And then sometimes
trust the girls.
exactly. Then sometimes you get the crazy ones that are single, and you're like, oh, nah. I mean, if you just
Not.
have fun, but like, don't marry her.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The only person that's coming to mind is my mom, because I think my mom was definitely like like she would have a bumper sticker if she could. But I think she was always trying to like use that as an angle. Or I had my daddy who would be like, I don't get why you're single. You're an NFL cheerleader. And I'm like, I know, daddy, but some people get intimidated by the fact that you do what you do. Mm-hmm. So even if it was somebody, that you felt like, oh, I can drop this little information. And maybe if they felt like they couldn't handle it, then.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. There's there's the relationships that the kinds that we were in while we were on our teams. But then you have the girl who is on the team, meets a guy maybe, and then or makes the team with this dude, and they become extremely jealous and insecure, and not in a way that you would know that they are insecure, but just like constantly putting you down or making this like whole thing sound like it's stupid, or thinking that something's going to happen with you and somebody else. Mm-hmm. Like not understanding what you do or how important it is to you to really do it. I feel like I hear a lot of that kind of stuff hanging around a lot of different teams. You just have like these stories of these not worthy guys, of these incredible girls, and you just kind of want to shake these girls, being like, get rid of this dude. He's making you feel like you're not even good at this job. Why?
Yeah, man.
Why is this happening? Why are you letting this human affect you and bring you down and bring their insecurities into your own wonderful time and ruin your time on this team?
Right? Because it's like sometimes they question, anytime there's like too many fucking questions and it's not like, oh, tell me more about, like open-ended, like I just want to learn more about your world and be brought into it. It'll be like this tone of like, well, why are you doing that? And like, didn't you just do that already? And like, why? It's that mouth that totally is like picking you apart or critiquing your every choice or decision. I don't understand why you like hang out with these girls. Like all that kind of shit is coming from someone who's obviously got some different kind of issues that they're bringing to your doorstep and, parking outside and just ruining like what would be a very awesome experience, especially if you're wanting to partake in things that take time away from your relationship and they're really hacking away at that instead of like kind of understanding. And there's nothing wrong with these guys wanting to have more time with you, but I think when you start feeling like you're constantly defending what you do or your choices, it's probably a bad sign, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge difference between somebody making you feel like you're wasting your time doing this and somebody like Brittany's husband who's like, I know that you can't live without this feeling. And so like, if you're going to do it, you do it 110. Don't worry about me. I'm here on the other side.
Right.
And that makes a world of difference. And the guy who doesn't get that doesn't understand you. And that's an issue. And that's a huge issue. And it's going to take away from your time on this team. And then what? Then who are you without dance?
And you won't enjoy it the same. Like, even if you are deciding, I'm really into this guy, I think he's worth it, I'm willing to work through some shit, your ability to like enjoy what the season has to offer and taking up different opportunities to do more things, you're probably going to like shrink from that season where you're not doing things that you would have done if you didn't have a little shithead in the background in your ear or, like on your shoulder, making you question things that you're trying to do. So again, I know Brittany's like, wait, I have a healthy relationship. What do you want me to do? But it's great to show like what it's like when you don't have any of those concerns, because I think a lot of people might be dating someone that they don't even realize is a little shit on their shoulder that's making them question everything. Like, even to the point of playing on your insecurities, because that's what happens in relationships. Let's be real. If you're with the wrong person and they know that you're really self-conscious about your thighs, but you really love cheese and bread or whatever, and they're like fucking with you over it, well, should you really be eating that? I mean, who knows what these people do, but there's little things that you might not even pick up on as being extremely unhealthy and like tainting your own perception of yourself, number one, and also just decisions to help you enjoy what you've worked so hard for, because they would make it seem as though it's taking away from them and there's something therefore wrong with it. And that's super unfortunate, but I think hella common.
Yeah, I mean, I personally haven't experienced that, but I've seen it quite often on the team. And it just kind of resorts back to they don't really know why you enjoy doing it. And like, I don't think girls typically want their cake and eat it too kind of situation. So they wouldn't even get involved with a guy if they were pursuing cheering professionally for other reasons.
Right.
You know, so it's like, it has nothing to do with, you know, hanging out with players or doing this. You're not even hanging out, but like working alongside with the players. It has nothing to do with that. Like, you're just following a passion, but you know, it comes with certain things that I can understand make them insecure, but it definitely takes a certain kind of guy.
What are they insecure about? That's a big question. Is it
small dick size will cause a lot of insecurity? I'm sorry. I'm out of rosé. And
you're done. Like, you're done. That's it.
It's a baby squirt bottle. I mean,
no, that's not what I'm saying. You only have one. You didn't buy a 4-pack. You just.
I'm such I was trying to behave.
Right.
That was a bad idea. Brittany's babysitting hers. I might steal hers, but go ahead.
But yeah, there's a difference when your dude's jealous of time that you're spending elsewhere. That's okay. That's a discussion that needs to be had, and you need to figure that out, because scheduling your boyfriend is just as important as scheduling everything else in your life. And you need to be a good person and divide your time with somebody who's very important to you. And those are hard lessons that we need to learn when we are busy. And I'll get back to that later.
Yeah,
but if you're jealous of something else, if there is this idea that you see players, and that's just pretty much, you could barely see them on the field. So many people in front of you. But like, you're never spending time with them. You're maybe at an appearance, but you're there for work, under a work circumstance.
For like an hour.
Yeah, if that, because let's be real, the girls do all the appearances and the guys get to show up, be like, hey, and leave, while the girls stay there and do all the grunt work.
Pictures, autographs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who's going to do that now?
Let's talk about that. Not now, but like, yes.
Who's going to do that? But you're never with these people. And if that's a concern that they have at the beginning, it's something that will eventually unfold for them to be like, oh, you just hang around a bunch of girls all the time. Like, all you're doing is that. But what is the jealousy that they're giving you? Because it's either something that you need to look within and handle, or it's something you need to cut the fat and get rid of. And the more you justify it, the more you're fogging it up and fogging up what you're doing. And you really need to read that room when you talk to your friends on the team. How are their reactions? Does it seem like they don't like this guy? Or are you constantly justifying his actions? All those things really do matter. And if you don't, this absolutely goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. If you don't have somebody that's supportive, it's not.
It's like dead soil. You're not going to grow anything. You're not going to grow as a person. You're not going to, you know, seek opportunities or get opportunities because you're not seeing that as your path. You're totally blocked off by this person that doesn't want you to live your life.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Right.
Having to justify, I mean, we started this podcast with an episode called This Is Why We Do It, trying to explain, you know, despite any complaints that may come in future episodes, this is why we do what we love. And I think, you know, in any relationship, if all you do is come home and like complain about like, this is what happened today, you're venting, but it doesn't mean that you don't love what you do. And so maybe from the guy's perspective, maybe they're kind of like, I don't even know how to be there for you. Like, what the hell do you want from me? You say the director's a bitch and like you talk about all this shit that happened at practice. And I'm like, well, why don't you just quit then? You know, they might think that that's being supportive. And it's like, no, I don't want to quit. Like, this is so, so they may not know like what being supportive means. It means probably listening to me vent and knowing that it doesn't change that I still want to do this shit. Okay. Like, I'm still going to wake up tomorrow and go to practice and continue, because it gives me something that's greater than any like obstacle or pay or weight concerns. All those things come with it, but I still love what I do. And so sometimes I always wonder, like, do they just not really know what being supportive means in this space? Because in addition to like the time management that we could definitely touch on, it's probably them just kind of dealing with a wide range of emotions that we experience while we're on the team and not knowing how to be supportive of those conflicting emotions even. Like, I hate it. I love it. I hate it. Oh my God, I feel so bad about myself. I feel fat today. Like, and they're just thinking, you seem very tortured as a person. And like, why don't you just stop doing it then? maybe that's what they don't quite get in terms of how to be supportive while we're on a team.
100%. And that is, again, when you compare it to their life, if they're at work all day and they come home and they're like, Johnson was such a dick, you wouldn't be like, quit it. Just quit your job. Mm-hmm. You listen, and you're just like, when you're ready. It gets to a certain point when you're like, okay, you got to make a move. You're unhappy. Like, you could tell when somebody is actually unhappy, and that's when you start having that conversation. But I think something that's helped my relationship now with my dude. So I'll tell you about my dude real quick, because I may call him by his nickname, which is actually a longer name. His name is Robbie. I call him Roberta.
Oh.
If you hear me say Roberta, I'm speaking of my lovely boyfriend, Robbie. But when Robbie, well, let's just call him Roberta, because I can't. It's Roberta and I
blushing.
I may be a little drunk, but I also may be blushing, because I actually do not talk about relationships personally. I think this was a pro team thing that I was kind of taught, and it is something that I see other girls doing on teams, and it kind of bugs me because it just diminishes you as you're just that girl that's like, well, my boyfriend does this and my boyfriend says this, and you're just speaking about your boyfriend, and you're this little girl wearing almost nothing, just talking about your boyfriend, and it really takes away from probably like the medical degree that woman has, and you just turn into a cheerleader talking about your boyfriend, who might as well be a varsity football player. We spend years trying to break this stereotype of what cheerleaders are, and those little boyfriend comments get me, because I'm like, tone it down. You sound like a little, yeah, you sound this big. You are putting your boyfriend all the way up here, talking about him all the time. So I have a problem talking about Roberta, but Roberta knows it. Roberta knows that everything that I've learned in my life has come from being a pro cheerleader, and Roberta's very supportive that as a woman, my biggest superpower is being a woman. And I never talk about my boyfriend, to the point where we have even talked about, if we were to ever further our relationship, would I represent that with something around my finger? Because I'm like, it's going to take away my powers. But again, why he's so wonderful is because he thinks that the way that I do things is so magical. And he met me through work. So he's seen me work and kind of was like, she's like this weird ninja. You don't see her, but when you see her, you can't unsee her. And I just love that.
He gets you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%. He's the first person I felt that actually understood every part of me in my professional sense that my parents didn't get as I grew up, like couldn't really fully grasp. And he just really got everything. And again, just like you, Brittany, it made my life just run very smoothly, because it wasn't this pressure that I was adding. Great, now I have to think about being this age and single, and you put a lot of pressure on yourself. So when Roberta and I are talking, a lot of the times I will vent, and I will vent in a very angry manner. And this is about all parts of my life. And we have definitely put up this like pause moment where I will say, listen, I'm going to talk about blank from work, but I may be friends with them tomorrow. So you cannot hate this person forever. I just need to get this off my chest, and I don't know how to really deal with it from my perspective. So hear me out. Let me talk so much shit right now, because I am heated, and it's kind of all bets are off. Like I could say whatever, and Roberta and I run into these people. He knows however I want to move forward and deal with it, we're good. He's going to work hate them, but just until I'm done work hating them. And then we'll go back whenever I'm ready to go back into work loving or pretending to work love. He's on board. And that's super important. It's like there's a miscommunication with the way the guy looks at pro cheerleader. If you're always complaining, this isn't really your job. So just quit. Why do you need to do this? Like, you're not being treated great from your director, or your friends, you don't have any friends, or whatever it is.
Not real friends.
They're like, well, what are you doing it for if it's not happiness and it's not money? Quit. I'm tired of hearing about it. but there needs to be the pause button. That's like, this is my number one. I love it more than anything, maybe even more than you, but I need to tell you how I feel. And I need a hate on this moment right now. Otherwise I can't go into work with us fighting and me fighting with everybody on my team.
So true.
And I think guys are better at that than girls. If someone does anybody close to me wrong, I'll just hate them for life. I could put on a front that is needed.
She's not good at fronting when she doesn't like somebody.
Yeah, I just can't fake it. I'll just feel like I don't really like you, Get that vibe.
But it's true. They probably think, though, that that's being supportive. And even, to your point, the cheerleader that's always talking about her boyfriend might think in her mind that that's how you express being a supportive girlfriend. Like, that's being a good girlfriend, is constantly running your mouth about we and us.
Or trying to overcompensate. Like, he did this for me. And
yeah,
you're
because
trying
he's
to
not
validate.
doing shit, and you're like trying to make it sound like you have the best man in the world. Yeah.
Even like, let's take a different approach to that. It could be very much like, I'm letting you know I have a boyfriend. And so like, we're going to talk about my boyfriend up front. So anything flirty from here on out, I'm talking about my boyfriend. Let's pretend we're at like a bar and you are trying to figure out how you can fit my boyfriend somewhere in this conversation. People are being really nice to you. That could be something too. But most of the time I would just want to shake them and be like, you could talk about yourself.
Or I feel like I'm talking to your boyfriend right now because everything out of your mouth is what your boyfriend thinks, what he ate that day. Like, what did you do? Like you said, you have a medical degree. Like, let's talk about that. About your practice. It's frustrating.
And underlying all of that has to be like a sense of inadequacy, right? Like, I'm not enough for whatever reason. This is what I feel like I bring to the table in terms of conversation. Me talking about myself is not enough. So I have to add some other variables in it. I mean, this is something that I think impacts relationships too, or at least dating, is if you don't feel adequate just by your damn self, set aside your life as a pro cheerleader. But if you don't feel like your life is enough without being on a team or identifying as a pro cheerleader, then you're going to rely on that shit to the fullest in terms of like, this is my self-worth right here on a platter. It's my uniform. It's the number of followers I have. It's the amount of attention that I'm getting, like, because you don't feel like you're enough. And that's what I saw that used to break my heart as being an old ass on the team, was just kind of, you have women at such a wide variety of ages and stages in life, right? And so you're still figuring that out, like what makes you the shit. And so you might be shaky on some stuff that actually is a really amazing part of your personality that men should find, attractive and value. But, if you're dealing with a bunch of shitheads and fuckboys or whatever you call them these days, it's kind of like you're not being validated around that. And the only affirmation that you're getting is probably the fact that you cheer or have this prestige of being a pro cheerleader, and you can kind of get lost in the sauce around what your true value is about. And I just think that can impact like dating and your real connection with people if you actually have a lot of self-esteem. I know that word gets thrown out a lot, but it's this feeling of not being enough, or that putting on this uniform somehow turns me into somebody more important and worthy than who I am without it. And then you go through shit as like a retiree because you're like, who am I?
Yeah, your identity is constantly being questioned. And I think that's probably the hardest part about that moment. And the same people who may lose their identity in their significant other are very much going to lose their identity in their team. And that is probably the hardest. Getting your identity back after team takes so long, and it's really hard. And it's the same with the boyfriend situation, because I think people try to find their happiness through other things. And that's going to be one of those issues that you have to get past. And I think too, you're in a really hard place. You're usually on a team, you're under 30. And that's also a generalization because that's not true for everybody, but you are under 30. You have 30s like this weird word in your head that you put everything when you were younger. I'll do that when I'm 30. I'll own a house when I'm 30. Whatever 30 is, it's like this weird number.
I'll have all my shit together by 30, literally.
Yeah. And then the closer you get to 30, the more pressure you're putting on yourself to make whoever you're with the right person, or to figure out what happens next after this team and in between 30, because it's happening so soon and you don't know what you're doing with your life. And everything just becomes one big ball of pressure that you're exporting onto people around you and your relationship and yourself. because 30 is approaching. And that even goes with auditioning for teams. You're kind of in this place where you're like, well, I'm getting this old. This is my last chance to do this. And then you turn 30 and you're like, oh.
Life keeps going. What?
I'm the same as I was yesterday. Just I'm cooler because I'm 30 and I don't give a fuck. Like, stop caring at some point about all that stuff and you're able to let that stuff go. But I see it a lot with older vets on teams that are searching for this purpose of being something else before they give up their team. And I think that does end up becoming the reason why people quit teams to get married, because they're like, now I've got this thing going on. But then you enter a whole other identity crisis, whether that's becoming a new mom or becoming a new wife or just starting a different chapter of your life, because now you feel like you've completely severed ties to who you used to be. And now you're kind of like, uh-oh, but I don't know myself as a wife. This is the first time I'm doing this. And then bring kids into the mix. And it's like, who are you as a mom? Kids are number one identity stealers. That's what they're there for. They grow your identity. They come out and they take it from you. And you're like, who am I? I don't do anything anymore. Like, I don't know myself. Yeah. And I do feel like there's some kind of awesomeness that comes with having a kid and then making a team, because you get like this, I don't care mentality where you just want to fulfill a little thing that you lost and you get it back and you get to kind of share it. I mean, your kids are young, but you get to kind of share it with them and give them that taste of look what you can do. And again, let's bring this back to Cheer Chat. You dump a bunch of moms for a bunch of dads, but these moms were smoking hot and willing to sacrifice dinner on the table for their children and letting their dads do something for once to be on a court. And that's really cool. And now you're saying that that's not good enough. So your mom should be home with you making you dinner. So let's bring your dad out who doesn't care and just dance around and do silly
be fat and gross. I'm glad that you tie it back because it's all related. I love this conversation so far because it's just all of this surrounds a world that only we kind of understand and know how it creeps into so many different aspects of our identity, our personality, really tapping into what that passion is that makes you like, I need this. Like for all of the aspiring dancers out there that listen, you are hunting for that fulfillment of this thing inside of you that's not just, I want to dance. We can fucking take dance classes. It's more like, this makes me feel alive. This makes me feel something that I can't get from anything else. And when it comes to really like putting yourself out there for that and going through all of the things that we go through once we make it into this life, it's just really important to really have this community to be able to talk about it, right? Because I just don't think we realize how much it touches and like how it influences our decisions. And you just literally took me back to the This Is Why We Do It episode, because for me, I knew that, yes, I was a mother, 2 kids. Yes, I had a career. Awesome. Yes, I did all these great things, but I just felt like I needed, I just needed to do this. Like I felt it in my freaking spirit. And I'm just glad that we talked through like how we got here and what relationships were in our lives at the time, because it's something that's so ingrained in and I don't know that everybody has this, right? Like some people just don't have it in them and that's fine. But we just really have to take a moment, I think, to like pat ourselves on the back that you listen to that calling, you listen to that voice inside of you, whether you have a supportive husband, boyfriend, someone you're dating or not, just because doing what we do is hard enough, and getting here past all those obstacles, it's impressive. I mean, we're the shit. That's all I wanted to say. And I'm out of line.
You are correct. All of that is super correct. Partner or no partner.
Yeah.
I did want to touch on what you were saying earlier about how, you definitely lose your identity. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, is she psychic? Because I totally feel like I'm in that weird stage where it's not that I feel like I lost my identity. I just feel like, when I made the team when I was 21. And so I definitely grew up in that world. And it was a big deal for me. I really enjoyed doing it, but it definitely took up all my thoughts. Most of my friends were formed on that team. We were going to kind of touch on this. Maybe it's another episode, but I was so busy, I lost friends. So it's kind of like the girls that you hang out with more of the time become your friends and your family. But it wasn't that I quit to get married. It was more like to have a quality wedding ceremony and actual honeymoon, I had to kind of quit.
Yeah.
And I did this last year, turned 29. And so I do have that looming dreading, like year 30 coming up, and it's really scary. I don't necessarily want kids.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the Handmaid's Tale, but you know, I think I do want kids. And it's funny because I did have 30 in my mind, and I'm like, holy crap, 30's here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 35's good. 35's good. But it's definitely kind of weird because, like I was saying in the beginning, my husband's noticed, like, you haven't even taken any dance classes. That makes me sad. I wish you would, you know, go take dancing. I used to love when you would bring home a routine and show me, and you're really excited and just all that good stuff. And it's just kind of a weird place right now because I'm definitely filling my time with like the podcast, and that feels really good. But
it's not dancing though.
Yeah, it's not dancing. And I do agree, like you could go take a dance class, but it's 1,000% not the same, you know? And I feel like I'm really supported by my husband, my friends and everything. We've even talked about maybe going to audition for Blazers. Mm-hmm. That's something I'm interested in. But again, because I'm reaching that 30 and I'm married, and I feel like I would be supported to live down there for a season. But it's just like, it just seems too hard. Does that make me lazy?
No. I mean, I don't obviously think it's too lazy. It's just, as you get older and your priorities shift and you have found a way to balance, I mean, you've been balancing this whole time with your time commitment with Seagulls, your relationship that led to marriage, and, you know, you're balancing all of these things. And when it comes down to like, okay, I think I'm good now, like I've retired, I was at peace with the decision, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. When you think of trying, like how you reintroduce that passion back into your life,
it's scary.
It's scary as fuck.
It's scarier than when you originally were auditioning almost.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so true.
Look back at yourself and you were absolutely fearless. And
yeah.
Now you're like, there's a whole heap of fear that you didn't really have before. Because it's kind of like when you, your second year auditioning for a team's your hardest because there's so much to lose. Your first year, you don't care. You could walk away and be like, I didn't make it and I'm going to try for next year. Your second year though, it's like this additional stress that kind of goes away in your third year because you now made a place for yourself on a team. But that second year is scary, and it's scarier than most years. And you can't really figure out why when you're going through it. But it's because you have a lot to lose at this point. You know your life without being on a team, and you know picking up a team would be giving you that identity again. But you know that you're just going to face this sometime in the future. So how do you counterbalance the two, that you can fulfill an almost impossible thing? Because I don't know how you can put together like 80,000 people to perform in front of that everybody's going to respect and understand as your friend. This is what you do. But also, how do you move on without doing any of that? And the identity crisis is real.
It is so real. And another point, you also touched on it as well, but we definitely had a lot of girls really caught up on not their status, but like, oh, I really want to be a squad leader. And then once I am, I'll quit. Or I really want Pro Bowl. And then once I get it, I'll quit. Or I want to make show group. Just things like that. And I never thought I was good enough to make any of those. So I never set that expectation. So just making the team was good enough for me. But I definitely think that's a little toxic as well. But what's wrong with wanting more? It's like a job, you know, you want to get a promotion, you feel like you've earned it or whatever, but those things are definitely not like do X, Y, and Z and you'll get this. So it just makes it difficult. I think it makes your experience harder and not as fulfilling as it could be, just living in the moment.
Right.
And I think this is actually something that I believe that normal brides go through, where you plan this event for an entire year. You have this event. It's all about you. It went great. And then it's over. And then they go into like a post-wedding depression because nothing is about them anymore. So then like, they're like, I have to have a kid and then have a shower. And like they wrap themselves up into an identity. With this, we experience it in a different way. And it's very similar, but you're like, I'm used to performing. I think as performers, you're not really this is a bridezilla moment and it's not all about you. You just want to have a good party and like celebrate love, and then that's over. So when both of those things end at the same time, it is, well, I don't know personally, but I would imagine is such a hard crash of who you are, because everything's now kind of halted.
I planned it wrong. I was like, I thought I had it to the T, but actually what you're saying makes so much sense. And I'm not to be like, I wasn't a bridezilla, but I actually feel like I really wasn't a bridezilla at all. But yeah, it is kind of interesting that I thought I was doing it right, but maybe that's not the right way to go, because it is such a huge crash. You know, it's like so exciting planning your wedding. And we actually planned for 2 years. So that
they set the date so far away. I was like, what are you doing to me right now? Like, this is so far from the engagement. But yeah, you guys were planning for a while.
So that definitely rings true for me for sure.
Well, we see it all the time with people getting engaged while they're on the team, and I think because of the time, like most people probably want like a summer-ish wedding. And so you just, good luck doing that while you're on a team, because you can't get away. I don't think people are necessarily thinking, how can I do this either in the off season or on a bye week? Like nobody's thinking like that. You guys in the NBA have 41 games. Like how would you ever freaking do it? But it's good that we're talking through it, because once you have your eyes set on something, you don't really think what happens beyond that. You're so right about like hitting 30 or hitting 40. Like I wish they would keep the talk going of like, what can you expect? I went through that for 40, not so much 30, but 40 was like, what the hell happens after 40?
That's the thing. Like life after 40, you're thriving better than ever. And like,
I don't know about that. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, you do feel, I didn't believe that shit though. As I was talking to my friends that were turning 40, they're like, oh my God, 40 is fabulous. You just don't give a shit anymore. And you just say what you feel, and you just feel so this and so that. Your sex drive goes through the roof. And I'm already kind of like that, kind of, in terms of like, I already kind of don't give a shit.
She makes me permanently blush every time we hang out, because I'm like you. I'm like, I'm still a virgin. Like,
she doesn't talk about shit, which is good.
Because my mama raised me to like, don't tell anybody about anything private, because that's private. You know, so it's just really interesting. Like, I kind of wish we would record our conversation, because I'm like, oh my God, I know what you're talking about, but
I torture this poor girl. Thanks for being my best friend. Of course. But yeah, she turns red as shit whenever I talk. The point is, I definitely was kind of suspicious of 40, because a lot of the things that people felt like they got from turning 40, I already felt like I kind of had that as part of who I am. And so I was just like, well, what's the added benefit? But now I'm just kind of like, well, fuck it. I mean, you know, it's not like
I'm going to write this open letter.
I mean, it's not like I can stop time. The only thing I worry about is like menopause and your twat drying up and like you not having a sex drive. That scares me more than anything. I don't know when that's happening. I refuse to look it up. I don't want to know what age menopause hits, because then I'm going to really start like that. And I'll feel like my life is over when I don't have a sex drive anymore. Anyway, how do we get on that topic? We should move on to sex. Might as well.
Wait.
Okay.
Hold on. We'll wrap up.
He's not ready.
I will say this though. Mm-hmm. That we're all in different places, because it does really make a lot of sense and connection. Mm-hmm. I am close to 40. I am like you, Brittany. I am not sure how I feel about kids. I get a lot of love from a lot of people, and I feel very fulfilled by that. This world is a weird place right now, and I just don't know how I feel about bringing a little into it, and that scares the bejesus out of me. But also, Mhkeeba, I think that you are one of the lucky ones now looking back, because you had babies at a younger age, and you were able to then do all the things that I want. And, you know, I'm not sure I want kids, but if I could go back, my thing would be that I would go back, pop some shorties out early, and then do some stuff. Because if I had kids that were capable now, that would be easy. I'm old now, and I feel like I'm tired. It's not that I'm old. I'm just
I'm tired.
I don't know how my friends do it. My best friend Brittany, who I also met on the team, so Mhkeeba, you and I also, we have that in common. She has 3 boys. They are so glorious. and wonderful, artistic, supportive husband. He is a writer and she's a dancer, and it's finally like adding up where he's writing stuff that she can choreograph that, you know, will be on TV soon. And it's so awesome. And they're so supportive of each other. And I look at their marriage. This is what I want. These are the people that I surround myself with too. It's like all my friends have these great husbands, and that is what I want. But the difference with me and Brittany is she had kids at 27. She popped one shorty out. Her and her husband had to move to New York. She wanted to meet some friends. She tried out for the Knicks, made the Knicks. These kids look at their parents like, cool, I could do anything I want. They're so creative and so wonderful. But she was able to even get through another kid and another kid, get her body back, and is in the workforce again.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the dream, because she got to take her identities that she gave herself over and over and over again and recreate them. And going back to your point, Brittany, I think that the hardest part about anything in life is breaking the stereotype that you put on yourself that wraps you up in an identity that you fall back to, like, this is what I was. And I know that this podcast isn't going to fill the place of you actually performing, but the more it's growing, the more I'm sure performing is kind of moving over a bit in your heart and letting some of this room in, because what you guys are doing right now is huge. And I said it before in our last podcast that you guys are pioneers right now. And whether that's just being a voice of a lot of people that, you know, have lived in this world and just don't want to offend anybody by speaking up. I mean, I could totally relate to that too. And I've been out of this game for a while, but you're kind of just taught, don't ruffle too many feathers or else you're gone. And you guys are being such an important part of this process. And on top of it, nobody knows these stories. This is something that's never been told. And I feel like in 2007, when I did the All-Star game, it was the first time I was able to talk to one girl from each team to be like, what do you guys do? What are your rules? What do you wear? How's your life? I felt like it was technology for the first time where you're able to connect to everybody. And it was really cool. And now I feel like everybody's really connected, and it's through you two. And that's a big, big role that you're taking on. And let's say this were to be something that you guys would do for a while. If somebody told you, oh, just so you know, you only have like a 4 or 5 year lifespan doing this, you would put everything you had into it, and then it would be taken away from you, and then you would be going through another identity crisis. So you worked your whole life to become a seagull and to do something that you love so much, and you knew that it had an end point. So you put all of your love into it, knowing that it had to end. And then you make that decision. I know what can make it a little bit easier. It could end when I'm ready to go to the next chapter in my life. So you didn't do it wrong. You did it wisely, but it wasn't as easy as you probably thought it was. Because really, in the end, you can't break an identity unless you create a new one. So you have to find your new place in life. And it's not something that comes as easily, and by easily I mean as obviously as auditioning for something. That's probably the only career in your life, that an entertainment career where you're auditioning for something, you get it, it's your title, and you know it's going to be over soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much for saying that, because I don't really, not like, oh, I don't think what we're doing is great, but you know, I show up after work, I'm like sweaty and gross, and we like try to make it work, you know, on like basically no budget.
Yeah.
You know, I ride the bus. Hello. I'm in public transportation. Like, you know, it's just funny. And it's just such an honor to hear that from you, you know.
Seriously.
It's really important. You're bringing a lot of people together. And it's fun to hear if you've done it. It's fun to hear if you want to do it. And on top of it, you guys also get to be in like this political world where you're like, we're going to make a difference.
That's more her.
That's
a little over my head, but I was telling her the other day that I feel like I'm learning a lot and, you know, kind of gaining maybe more of a mature voice. I should probably already have it already, but, you know, that I'm getting access to amazing people I feel like not early on. I'm not that much younger, but it's just, I never thought about a lot of these things. All of them.
Thank you so much for saying that, just because when I think of these ladies that were let go or whatever, this shit happened with the NBA teams, and they're kind of being forced down this path of making decisions about what's next for me, looking at the relationships in their life and making decisions, okay, like what new ledge am I going to jump off and go for something scary and unknown that won't fill that same passion and void, but that will help them utilize this amazing talent and, feed this passion. And it's really hard to find comfort and confidence in that. This podcast has been some shaky ass baby steps on like a sheet of ice, like not knowing what the hell we were doing other than just this vision in my mind that thought, damn it, we all have to get connected somehow. Like there's all this shit going on. And it just means a lot to hear that it's having the effect that we could only hope for. We were talking to ourselves really awkwardly for a very long time, I think, before it felt like people are actually listening. So that's amazing. Thank you, everybody, for even tuning the hell in. But I just think right now, because of what everybody's having to face, whether it's impending, like, oh, my expiration date's coming, or, I wasn't expecting my expiration date, but here we are. I just went through all these auditions, preparing and shit, and then I didn't make it. Like, there's so many things that connect us all that has us looking at our lives and the relationships that are in it and trying to figure out where we fit in. And I definitely accidentally did things right. I mean, everybody has their own path, but I think the timing of my kids coming into the picture, I had plenty of fun in my 20s, and it felt right in terms of when the kids came in the picture. But at the same time, my relationship wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be. I thought I'd be married and it'd be like this whole perfect wedding. And I didn't really want that, but it was just like, that's what everybody does, right? You go to law school, you get married, you have a certain kind of husband who looks like great on paper, and you do the whole thing, and then you have kids, and that just was not the freaking order. But just going back to what you were saying and figuring your life out and being okay that there's not this like linear step-by-step path. You kind of get to where you're supposed to be by going all kinds of zigzags and turn around and about face and turn around 5 times and then go straight. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff, but I think it's just a matter of not following your heart. That sounds so cheesy.
But it should be celebrated. Your path, no matter what
it
should
is,
be celebrated.
Yes.
And
It's
I think
like
that's hard in the moment to think that.
To embrace it. Yeah, for fucking sure. The embracing part is probably the hardest of it all. And I think as you get older, it's just a matter of, I call it giving myself permission to be and to feel and to think wherever I was at. Because it's like, well, who the hell are you if you don't even allow yourself to be who the hell you are? I have to hug myself a little bit more and where I'm at and what I'm doing. And life starts fucking you up a little bit as you get through certain decades, like curveballs come that you don't expect. It's not part of your like life plan. And so just giving yourself space to grow through that and feel like I'm all right, or I'm going to be all right, or I got to listen to that little voice inside of me. Maybe it's telling you like, this isn't the right relationship. You're wasting your beautiful years of youth. And you could be you could be moving on. There's so many things that if you just start tuning into that and basing your decisions off of trusting yourself a little bit more and kind of like telling yourself it's going to be okay and you don't have to have all the shit figured out and there's hella more years to live. So just relax, you're going to hit 42 and be like, oh, there's an age called 42 and it's going to keep going and it's all going to be all right. Can we talk about sex now? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I love how this is going. It's been all over and it's beautiful.
It is really beautiful. We just covered relationships, identity, post-wedding disorder.
Right? That's a thing.
But it's all connected.
It really is. And I do think if I could say one thing about this and wrap it up into try to bring it back to relationships. Somebody once said to me, there's no wrong moves with the right person. And I really do think that is very true. And you can be the worst version of yourself when you're trying to find this new identity. And for me, I feel like with Roberta, I went through it as a girlfriend. I was single for so long and established myself. And it gets to the point where you're kind of just well, this is who I am. I am somebody without anybody. So I kind of rejected the idea of other humans. And I did not want to allow anybody in because it wasn't worth my time. And with Roberta, it took me a very long time for me to understand that it wasn't just me and I was in a relationship, and that was an identity crisis for me.
Tell us about how you guys kind of got over that hump, or was there a moment for you personally where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm his girlfriend? Or just did he ask you or force you on a date, or what happened?
Roberta pursued me for 3 years.
Whoa.
I had zero idea that he liked me.
Oh, got it.
Because when we originally met, it was through work, and I have a very strict policy of not shitting where you eat. My brain is trained that way. Will not touch anybody that I work with. And I worked with Roberta. He currently is head of marketing for a law firm. So he hired me to do photos for a commercial that the lawyers were shooting. And from that day forward, they always hired me. I kind of grew their aesthetic. And 3 years later, after I've done plenty of jobs for these lawyers, he invites me to a Christmas party for the law firm, and I just assume to shoot it. And he said, no, I want you to come with me, like, as my date. Now, the two of us have worked together so much that I know that we were kind of both in the same dating situation. We both hated everybody. So him asking me as his date was just kind of like, I know everybody already who is in this firm. It will be fun. We'll just be single humans, and it's work. So my mind is not involved in this whatsoever. And after that night, he was kind of like, yo, are you, like, you don't get this at all? Like, you don't see that I like you at all? And I was like, well, no. And then I rejected the idea of us dating completely. He said in one of these conversations, give me a shot. Give me like 3 months. If I could say that we dated for 3 months to myself, I'd be super happy. And so I took that to my therapist, because my therapist is and
You're our therapist, Lindsay, I swear.
Therapy is the best thing on the planet. I love it so much. But she said to me, would you give it 3 months? And I was like, I don't think so. Because she kind of got down to it. You're afraid of forever. So you think, because I'm an extremely loyal person, if you give this guy a shot, it's going to be forever, and you don't know if you like him. And I was like, yeah. She said, give it 3 months. And I still wasn't into it. She said, how long would you give it? I said, 30 days. She goes, cool. Tell him you'll give him 30 days. And I did. For an entire year, we had a 30-day contract where we would check in and decide if we should do another 30 days. So during that process, I was able to really, around those 30 days, he would say, can I have a year extension? And I would say no. And I would send him a contract, and that contract would say what I needed more of, which became fun once I liked him, because I'd be like, I need a vacation once a month, and really put things that I needed in there. But he also got to put things that he needed in there too.
I love this. Oh my God. It's the best idea ever.
It was so wonderful, because I really got to take all my vulnerability, all my insecurities, all the things that bothered me, and be really honest with it, thinking, I'm cool to let this go if you think that this is crazy. And so nothing was really hidden on my end, where I could absolutely, instead of celebrating like anniversaries per se, it would be celebrating like
a new contract.
Renewal of your contract.
We did an actual contract for an entire 12-month period. And then
would you be willing to share for our listeners a template of the contract that they can adapt for their own use?
Yeah.
Because that is so powerful to be able to say, to have check-ins. It's like, a review with your boss almost, where you're just saying, this is what's working for me. I need more time. We need to have more sex, or whatever it might be that will help your relationship grow for another 30 days. Or But just being able to like say, this is how I feel, this is what I need, and I'm not afraid to say it. I don't want to sound like a bitch. You're just putting all that to the side and you're like, no, it's time to re-up this thing. I love that.
I kept expressing to him, I'm not a good girlfriend. I haven't been in a situation where I've had to think of anybody else. And again, my therapist said, you need to learn how to fight with other people, because I think that was a big issue that I was having. That was kind of the root of our struggle those first 12 contracts, because it was very much like we'd get in these crazy fights. We'd be able to resolve them and get to the root of them, but we couldn't figure out why they were getting so big. And it was because I was so independent for so long that fighting for someone else with someone else in mind was probably my biggest challenge. And then once we learned how to fight together, we made little rules around that too. Like you will see my fuse hit about explosive when I am not heard, when I'm frustrated, or when I feel stupid. Here we go. Those are my levels. And level red is, if you've hit all three of those and I've expressed those three things, it's about to pop off. And it took a while, but that was his compromise to me, was I'll really take note of those three things. And mine back was that I would learn how to fight on his level. Not being a relationship person, that didn't come naturally to me whatsoever. I did not know how to handle a relationship.
Definitely relate to that. I don't think I'm a relationship person either. Brittany's looking at me. I can so relate. When you're single for so long, you put yourself first. And, obviously I have kids. I have to put them first too.
But they also have to listen to you.
Yeah, it's totally different dynamic. And so there's very little room for like fucking up in my book. Or if I try, this whole trying thing feels like such a chore. It's such a big fucking thing for me, because it's so much easier just to like not, I can spend time and go on a date or whatever. Doesn't have to be anything serious. And that works for me very well. And putting up with someone else's shit and having to like fight through and figure out and how to resolve, to me, that's almost like, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't know that I want to like make time for that. It feels like such a labor that I just I don't want to sign up for that job. So it's a lot. I totally can relate.
It is a lot. You have a lot going on. And to
yeah.
make room for somebody else's feelings is just hard.
Like, I just need things to work.
And that sounds super bitchy, but it is true.
It is true.
But it's part of your picking process, because somebody's going to tempt you. And somebody's going to kind of be worth it. And then you're going to dig a little. And that's your vetting process. But really good people don't come around that often. So if it's going to happen and you see it happening and you notice that you're just scared of it because you're in control of yourself and
you got to work on yourself.
Then throw in some 30-day contracts.
And you might just get past it. But I mean, do you feel like when you did dance, though, that you did have less? Because I think that's why I stayed single for so long while I was dancing, was because it was just such a short leash of room for extra shit. There was just
not enough time.
Literally, like, too much going on than to be dealing with you and your shit. And I don't even know how people put up with a relationship that's unhealthy in addition to everything that you deal with as a cheerleader, because it's like, you literally don't have time. Like, you aren't working, you are going to practice, you're having to practice outside of practice, you're having to eat, you're having to sleep, and
something's got to give,
Yeah, and it's like, you're last, buddy. Like, I mean, you have to try to make space for it. I think that was a lot of what people were trying to feel out, was like, how do you do it? But do you feel like when you love someone like that and like you're really into them, you work it in? You got to make time, especially for like, well, here I go with sex again. But you know what I mean?
You want to make time though for the right
That's
people.
the difference, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. That I think people who don't have time to break up with shitty relationships because they've invested so much into it, they're already in their schedule. And that to them is like, I am in my world. And if I have to deal with this, it's going to interrupt that. And so I'm going to keep this relationship because it's easier, even though it's bad. I know how to manage it. A lot of people get addicted to bad because they know how to manage bad. And unknown is heartbreaking. Bad is easy. So sometimes you can even see people sabotaging relationships because they want to get to the bad because they know how to manage the bad.
Say that shit.
I've definitely done that.
Yeah, it's easy. And I think it's like an artist's thing. And I just picked up on this I had a thing for writers for a very long time. I liked a guy who wrote because they were in touch. It was kind of like they were artists, but very smart. And we're just like always kind of moody. I just like that. But our writers like to stay sad because they write good things when they're sad. Artists like the bad because they can then put it somewhere, and that somewhere is into what you love, and you get better results. When a good person comes along, you're sometimes scared of that risk. If I'm happy, am I going to neglect this part of my life? And so sometimes that self-sabotage moment happens because we're able to manage the bad and make it good.
I always tell my guy that, like, I love missing him. Is that weird?
Oh,
like, I love going on trips and stuff, or like even when we went on tour, like it made me dance better and harder because I felt like, it sounds so cheesy, but like I was dancing for him and he wasn't there, you know?
Absolutely. 100%.
That's why I like traveling without him, because it's like I miss him.
Yeah.
You know?
That's how I feel about my kids.
Yeah. It is a wonderful feeling to miss somebody because you know when you see them, you want to see them. And I think that's a really big thing. It's why Roberta and I won't even move in together, because we want to see each other. I don't want to have to see him.
Yeah.
We like moving apart.
You have to do a locker talk too, down, because you want to do sex fantasies, and I was like, oh boy.
Sex with Mhkeeba.
We should. I mean, at some point, get to sex. I hope everybody's having sex in their relationships. You can't be too busy as a pro cheerleader to not have sex.
No, that is something that you need to schedule time in for.
Basically, figure it out in the morning.
Just don't sleep like Mhkeeba.
But it should happen, right? Because you're not like the sexiest person on the planet. You're gorgeous. You're feeling your body. Like, I don't know, even if you're not feeling so sexy, you should still like have sex. Sex is great and healthy. You should have it all the time, you know, as much as possible. And that's just what I think.
No, you're right. You're right.
But, well, when you have a fresh spray tan, you can't have chunks missing.
Mm-hmm.
I never would have thought about that.
Also, that was kind of disgusting.
But Anthony's probably he probably has spray tan poisoning, you know? Like, come on.
Oh, I will not let Roberta go near me when I have a spray tan.
See?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, there's some times where it's like, whoa, you know? Like, I want the spray tan to stay and not have,
you just
like...
can't, like, touch me. Like, wettiness happens, get off.
See? Yeah.
Keep the distance, bro. 24 hours, no water.
What?
Exactly.
What? Okay, so I cannot relate to that at all. If I were a guy, I'd be like, fuck your spray tan, like, give it to me or something. But I can see, like, don't mess up my hair.
Okay, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I'll get a
But
blowout.
you figure that shit out too, though. We haven't had a way of, like, is there no way to do it where you can't screw up your spray tan?
Depends on if you want to rub some Sally on there the next day and try to cover it up. Hope it matches.
Sally's a girl's best friend.
Yeah.
Because you can do it without messing your hair up. Like, there's a way that you could manage. You just would have to figure out how to patch it. Patch your tan. Oh my God, this is killing me. But
there's so much prep that goes into spray tan. So once you do it, especially if you're in a relationship, you're just like, you know the rules.
Yeah. I'm going to air dry. Yes, I'm naked, but just don't touch, you know?
It's like if you were to get fully ready, face, eyelashes, red lip on, and then he was like, oh, let me lay you down and like mess all this up that you've been working on for the past hour and a half to go to an event in 5 minutes. And you're like, no, don't touch this.
You can't touch this. We should have a whole section. You can't touch this. All right. Well, you guys are tight-lipped, so I'm gonna give.
No, but I honestly I don't think I've run into an experience except for, I will say this: hold the phone.
Okay.
I was on a plane once with the New Zealand rugby team.
Ooh.
Hottest guys I've ever seen. I feel like rugby and soccer or football. All of a sudden, I was like, wait. You guys are smoking hot. And when I'm in London, we sometimes will take the girls over to a football game that's happening, and they'll perform at halftime, which is super fun. And these guys, like, well, we're missing out. Yeah, they're cute.
Wow. If only that had to be a requirement. Like you had to be really, really freaking good at what you do and fine at the same time.
Oh, it is. And it's called professionally cheerleading.
Well, that's true.
But for the guys.
For the guys. Oh my gosh. I thought Locker Talk would just be at least getting closer to the idea of sex. We'll never have a sex episode. Brittany will be like absent for that episode, and it'll be me talking about sex the whole time.
Yeah, at your house, in private, in your room, in the
at
dark.
night, being like girl 6 on the phone. So everybody, get your uniforms out. And
Here's a tutorial for you.
But I think what at least I hope that people gain from this awesome conversation is your relationship with yourself will influence how well you connect with others. And the more positive that relationship is with that right person in your life, not the wrong person in your life, it will help you be your best self. And that's what we should all be striving for, because what we do is absolutely the best thing ever. And no asshole should take away from that. So just love yourself, put yourself first, love the person you're with who deserves your love, and bring them into your world and live happily ever after, or kick his ass out. That's my take. How would you wrap up this episode?
Yeah.
I love putting her on the spot. It's always so sorry, but you've done that to me too. You put me on the spot before.
True. Yeah. And then we stare at each other for 5 minutes.
I'm sorry. I won't look at you. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think that self-care is really important. And we kind of touched on that a little bit with Dr. Craig. But I just think that is really important. Kind of like RuPaul, you know, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love someone else?
True.
It's very true. And you only live one life. So definitely if there's somebody that doesn't do right by you, just keep it pushing, cut them out, and find somebody that does. And it might take a long time, but they're out there. That's my advice.
She's a forever optimist believing in love. She's the only reason why I still will believe maybe before I'm 60, it might happen. Whatever. Go ahead. What's your take?
I believe that timing is everything. I believe that people are put in your life for either roadblocks or like secret little workers to either hold you up because the thing that's waiting for you is not ready yet. So sometimes people are in your life for beautiful reasons, even if they're horrible people and make you very sad. I believe more than anything that there's no wrong moves with the right person. You can't do anything wrong. You can be your worst version of yourself. And if they don't like it, they're not your person. And somebody who comes into your life who totally is like, cool, yeah, you're having a bad day, so you're being a horrible person. I get it. Those people are meant to lift you up. Love somebody who loves you more than anybody. I think it's really hard. We tend to like people who don't like us, and because we think that they're better than us. And so we're constantly trying to prove ourselves to one person. And we think that if somebody likes us a lot, that they're kind of below us. And in the end, you want to be with somebody who adds to your life, not that you're constantly trying to prove yourself to, because that's where identity crisis comes into play a lot, when you don't know who you are. And as soon as you do know who you are, especially when you're single, when you are content and you are happy with living alone forever, that's when somebody comes knocking on your door. People are shitty and people are the worst, but making mistakes, sleeping with the wrong people, screwing up every once in a while, just learn. That's all you have to do, is just learn from other people. And you make a little mixing pot of all the things that you want in your life, even out of the stupid douchebag you dated. They're the thing that you were attracted to. Take it, put it in the pot, get rid of the rest of it, and just stir that pot until that person kind of comes to light.
I like it.
Amen to that.
I have something for you guys. Can I do a drop it like it's hot to you guys?
Oh
yes.
My God. Okay.
So just to clarify, this is just a series of rapid fire questions, correct?
Yes.
I feel like it's a setup, but yes.
It's not. I want you both to answer.
Okay. I feel like I need this.
Let's start easy. All of these are easy.
Okay.
But let's start like at the easiest. Besides this podcast, what's your favorite podcast?
Guys, We Fucked.
See, that didn't come from me, everybody. That was Brittany. And I don't really listen to podcasts, but I had a similar one that I found that I kind of liked, and it was Call Her Daddy. Is that what it's called? Call Her Daddy, which is a very similar Guys We Fucked-ish kind of podcast.
Not safe for work.
Right.
If you had to get rid of every app on your phone except for 3, what 3 apps on your phone would you keep?
One bus away, because I take the bus.
Last girl.
Instagram and Pokemon Go.
No way.
Yes way.
I love that. Mhkeeba?
I do use period tracker, and I can't keep track of shit, so I kind of need that.
That would be one of mine that I would.
Okay. I guess Instagram, now that I'm trying to be more social media-ish, I will go with any airline app that gives me my freaking boarding pass. Boom. I need that in my life. That's lame. I'm sorry, but I don't use a lot of apps.
Okay, cool. If you had an extra $5,000 a month that you had to spend, otherwise it doesn't roll over to the next month, where or what would you spend it on? If I just gave you $5,000 each a month.
Traveling somewhere and staying in a fat ass wherever I want to stay and eating and drinking and taking friends with me. It would be
once a month.
Yeah.
It'd take a week out of your life.
Falling out. Yeah.
Same. Honestly, just traveling and being able to like invite as many people as that $5,000 would allow.
All right.
They just hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Cute.
Cute. She's like lame, but cute.
No, it's not lame. Okay. Here's a good one. If you both turned into each other for a day, what would be the first thing that you would do?
Have sex.
I knew it.
What are you going to do is...
Oh, God. You for a day.
Oh, gosh. Now I'm like, don't look at me. What would you do?
What would I do? This is going to sound really weird, but I really admire Brittany's hair, and the way she's able to like work her hair, whether she's dancing, whether it's just in general, even if you thought you were having a bad day, all she has to do is go like this to her hair, and it just looks so... I would fuck with her hair all day long. Everybody who knows me knows I touch my hair a lot. I'm a hair person. I would be whipping it around. I think I would. I would be touching in it. I'd be flirting in it. I would be just doing too much.
Okay, what bad habits about other people drive you crazy?
People who smoke or spit in the street. That really grosses me out. When people just like hawk a loogie in front of you and you're just like, why? That grosses me out so much.
Yeah, other bad habits, like
bad manners.
Yeah, bad manners. I would say like doing rude shit. Like if I speak to you and you don't speak back, bad habit that I'm like, cannot.
If you could be guaranteed one thing in life besides money, what would it be?
Good health to live long, and maybe good health for my loved ones.
Oh my God, mine would be like coffee. You're so
guaranteed.
It's like the one thing you can't control, right?
You're
is like
so sincere with your face too.
Oh,
you were just like, that was the most beautiful thing. And I was like, somebody's obviously going to say coffee, right? Okay.
What would I would probably say that too, but to be different, I would say music.
Good one. A medical Coachella.
Yep. Perfect.
Boom.
What's your spirit country? It's kind of like, what's your spirit animal, but not an animal. And it's not the country that you're from or where you have any heritage per se. But I'll give you an example. Mine is France because like...
No, that's mine.
Shut up. I bet it's for different reasons. You're going to be like, health.
No. Sex.
Health and sex. I love it.
It's beautiful, and the language and all of those other things. But I just feel like it embodies this level of sophistication and also just joy of life. And so, yeah, it's a little hokey, but what's your reason?
It's so much better than yours. Right? I like sitting around drinking coffee, judging people walking by on the street and wearing stripes and a beret. And I could do that for hours. That's why my spirit country is France. Sorry to anybody French who thinks I am not being great, but I love it. And I just think it's beautiful. And I feel like they get to drink all the wine and they get to eat all the bread. And somehow their lives are like taut, skinny, and forever. And we're like over here being gluten free and
right. I can see that.
And all they eat is cheese and bread and wine.
Yep.
Dream. And espresso.
Dream.
What's yours?
I was going to say Italy because they're a little dirty. They eat carbs and it's beautiful.
And also wine and cheese and bread.
Yeah, exactly. Carbs all day.
How about you guys pick one? I have 4 left. So here they are. What's the best?
One.
You have to pick one. What's the best piece of advice someone's ever given you? What would you do for a profession if you weren't doing what you're doing now? If you could rename yourself, what would it be? And if you were a wrestler, what would the song that you would enter the ring?
Oh, that's a good one. Glow. Gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Oh man.
What song would I come out to? Those are such good questions. Okay. I would probably rename myself Veronica. Because when I was little, I don't know why I thought Veronica was like the sexiest name. You have the coolest name already, Mhkeeba.
I know you do.
I didn't always
have like typical 80s names. 80s
I know.
Names. You've got like your own name.
True, there aren't.
I don't know any other Mhkeeba.
There's my mom tried to make sure that with my spelling. Shoot. Another profession, what would it be? I guess I would be a writer.
Okay.
Everybody knows I clearly love to talk a lot, but I would find wonderful ways to put all these thoughts that run through my head and just on paper and have some people who want to like read it. That would be the profession.
If you were a dude, I would date you.
Exactly.
I like writers.
And I do need to be really sad in order to write good shit. So there's the open letter. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my God.
I want to know your answers to all of them though now.
3 apps I would keep would be my period tracker,
Okay.
Instagram for work, and probably HQ.
Do I know that one?
You guys you don't play HQ?
What's a game?
It's a trivia game.
Oh, okay.
And you win money.
What?
Yeah, the jackpot's like $200,000 and you can like cash out at certain questions and you win money. But I've like racked up over a year like $11, so I'm really rich.
Wow.
But
part-time job.
Good app. If you do like trivia, it's on every day at 6 o'clock. Favorite podcast? This is a tough one. Besides yours, would be I love the Lady Gang.
I've heard of that, I think.
Get into it.
Okay.
It's great. Really well produced too. The 3 girls on the show are great, and one of them was a dancer. She was actually a Nick City dancer, then a rockhead, and she's now on like Entertainment Tonight. She's incredible. Her name's Kelso. Oh, $5K a month. It would be travel upgrades. If I turned into you guys for a day, what would I do?
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Oh, I would put Brittany's hair in a top knot, and I would record a podcast. Those are things that I would do. Oh, and I would like go to my son's 8th grade graduation.
Oh.
And sleep with your husband. What bad habits drive me crazy about other people would be chewing with mouth open, saying my boyfriend, and bad grammar and not speaking wise. I'm totally fine with bad grammar. It's in text messages that shows me a complete lack of caring that it's usually with dudes that I can't put up with.
She's like bad grammar Brittany.
No, I've said this to my mom, our last podcast, and my mom critiqued all the places that I said things incorrectly. She was like, I
was about to say, what? My editing?
You're so well spoken.
No, it's not your editing. It was me. I think she and I say her and I. And since I was little, she'd be like, she and I. Every time I'm about to say it, I get a little, which one is it? I can't.
Yeah, of course.
Which one's wrong now? Thanks, Mom. Best piece of advice someone has ever given to you. I would choose that one, I think. Wait, hold on. Spirit country, France, because I'm an asshole. I would rename myself Kimberly, my childhood model name. Guaranteed one thing, it would be coffee.
Do you want coffee? Well, you might not like Starbucks coffee. Let me know. Do you really like it?
Oh yeah, you work for Starbucks. I'm like, don't give me
a free bag a week that I do not ever collect unless I'm trying to remember to do it for my dad and send it to Vegas.
Oh my God, I drink Starbucks every second of my life. There's one right next door.
Oh gosh. Well, think about a bag that you might want. We'll talk. We'll talk.
You guys are actually still waiting on something for me, so you're not allowed to send me anything yet.
Well, we got your address.
No, I moved. Oh, what was the last one
profession? Yeah.
I think I would my dream job as a child was to go into voiceovers. I wanted to be a cartoon.
That'd be cool.
Or I would be a master at coding or graphic design. Those would be my other professions. I'd be so good at them.
I don't know if this is too bold, but I think I love you.
Oh my God, it's not too bold. It's actually extremely validating. Only because we made such a beautiful friendship on podcast number 1 with our love, and then now I'm like, well, how am I going to live up to it?
The whole thing is so deliciously perfect.
You honestly made my day. I wasn't having the best day, and I was kind of in a cranky mood. Just a long day, I think.
The bus.
The bus, man, the bus. I just appreciate your time too.
That's how I feel about you guys. I feel like I'm just yapping on and you guys are just sitting here being sweet.
No, the love is so real. It felt weird. Hopefully she's not weirded out, but I just feel like we were meant to be in each other's lives and it's not supposed to end just because we finished an episode.
All I could think, even Roberta was like, is it too soon? Is it too soon? Are they not going to like me after the second date? Am I saying that too soon? Is that what you're telling me?
I made you wait 3 years, but these girls, they're...
We don't need a month-to-month contract.
No, we don't. Yeah, I definitely gave it up to you guys all the time.
Oh my gosh, this was so amazing. I'm so thrilled and can't wait to listen back.
You guys know it's mutual. I totally love you back. I'm on your team 100%. And anything I can do, any skill that I have that I can just give to you, whether that's taking photos of your beautiful faces.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Making a wig out of Brittany's hair for you. Just to make it
for my photo shoots, let me be a redhead for a day.
Yeah. Do a wig. Yeah. I'm so glad that we made this connection and hopefully we can keep it going. And
yeah,
I like that stuff.
You're good at it.
You help put words around what the struggle internally is, and you frame it up in a way that I never thought of it that way, but it just comes out in a way where you can kind of rewind that shit back and think about it a little bit and work through, I don't know, it's just a shift in your perspective that can actually be the aha moment, as Oprah likes to call it.
Yeah, Oprah knows some stuff.
Well, we love you, and
I love you guys too.
Good night. Sweet dreams.
Oh my God.
I promise I won't text you good morning, but you did give us your phone number, so. But get some rest. Thank you so much.
And I don't have a kid's graduation tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to make it through tomorrow. I'm going to get my balloons for Quentin, and
because your mom can do everything.
Yeah, we just figured this shit out, man. head to the graduation, cry when he gets his principal's award, and then everything will kind of like,
well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for having me on again, you guys. I really appreciate it.
This was great.
Bye, guys. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks for listening to the Pro Cheerleading podcast. Please subscribe, leave a comment, or review. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all at Pro Cheerleading Podcast, and also on Twitter at Pro Cheer Podcast. This is Brittany
and Mhkeeba. Until next time,
Keep your eyes on the sidelines.